Mr. Popper's Penguins by Florence and Richard Atwater. Chapter 4. Captain Cook. "Call who, Captain Cook?" asked Mrs. Popper, who had come so quietly that none of them had heard her. "Why, the penguin," said Mr. Popper. "I was just saying," he went on, as Mrs. Popper sat down suddenly on the floor to recover her surprise, "that we'd name him after Captain Cook. He was a famous English explorer who lived about the time of the American Revolution. He sailed all over where no one had ever been before. He didn't actually get to the South Pole, of course, but he made a lot of important scientific discoveries about the Antarctic regions. He was a brave man and a kind leader, so I think Captain Cook would be a very suitable name for our penguin here." "Well, I never," said Mrs. Popper. "Quack!" said Captain Cook, suddenly getting lively again. With a flap of his flippers, he jumped from the top to the washstand and stood there for a minute surveying the floor. Then he jumped down, walking over to Mrs. Popper, and began to pick her ankle. "Stop him, Papa!" screamed Mrs. Popper, retreating into the hallway with Captain Cook after her, and Mrs. Popper and the children following. In the living room, she paused. So did Captain Cook, for he was delighted with the room. Now, a penguin may look very strange in a living room, but living room looks very strange to a penguin. Even Mrs. Popper had to smile as they watched Captain Cook, with the light of curiosity in his exciting circular eyes, and his black tailcoat dragging pompously behind his little pinkish feet, trot from one upholder's chair to another, picking at each to see what it was made of. Then he turned suddenly and marched out of the kitchen. "Maybe he's hungry," said Janie. Captain Cook immediately marched up to the refrigerator. "Cork!" he injured, turning to slant his head wisely at Mrs. Popper and looking her at pleasantly with his right eye. He certainly is cute," she said. "I guess I will have to forgive him for biting my ankle. He probably only did it out of curiosity. Anyway, he's a nice, clean-looking bird." "Ork?" repeated the penguin, nibbling at the metal handle of the refrigerator's door out with his outstretched beak. Mr. Popper opened the door for him, and Captain Cook stood very high and leaned his slick black hat back so that he could see inside. Now that Mr. Popper's work was over for the winter, the icebox was not quite full as usual, but the penguin did not know that. "What do you suppose he likes to eat?" asked Mrs. Popper. "Let's see," said Mr. Popper as he removed all the foods and sat on the kitchen table. "Now then, Captain Cook, take a look." The penguin jumped up onto a chair from there into the edge of the table, flapping his flippers again to recover his balance. Then he walked solemnly around the table and between the dishes of food, inspecting everything with the greatest interest. Though he touched nothing. Finally, he stood still, very erect, raised his beak to point at the ceiling, and he made a loud, almost purring sound. "Ork! Ork!" he trilled. "That's a penguin's way to say how pleased it is," said Mr. Popper, who had read about it in his Antarctic books. Apparently, however, what Captain Cook wanted to show was that how he was pleased with their kindness rather than their food. For now, to their surprise, he jumped down and walked into the dining room. "I know," said Mr. Popper. We ought to have some seafood for him, canned shrimp or something. Or maybe he isn't hungry yet. I've read that penguins can go for a month without food." "Mama! Papa!" called Bill. "Come see what Captain Cook has done." Captain Cook has done it all right. He had discovered the bowl of goldfish in the dining room windowsill. By the time Mrs. Popper reached over to lift him away, he had already swallowed the last of the goldfish. "Bad! Bad penguin!" reproved Mrs. Popper, glaring down at Captain Cook. Captain Cook squatted guiltily on the carpet and tried to make himself look small. "He knows he's done wrong," said Mr. Popper. "Isn't he smart?" "Maybe we can train him," said Mrs. Popper. "Bad, naughty Captain," she said to the penguin in a loud voice. "Bad to eat goldfish." And he spanked him on his round black head. Before she could do that again, Captain Cook hastily waddled out of the kitchen. There the Poppers found him trying to hide on the still open refrigerator. He was squatting under the ice cube coil, under which he could barely squeeze. Sitting down, his round, white-circled eyes looked out at him mysteriously from the dim lips of the inside of the box. "I think that's about the right temperature for him. Oh, that, said Mr. Popper. "We could let him sleep there at night." "But where will I put the food?" asked Mrs. Popper. "Oh, I guess we can get another ice box for food," said Mr. Popper. "Look," said Janie. "He's gone to sleep." Mr. Popper turned the cold control switch to his coldest so that Captain Cook could sleep more comfortably. Then he left door ajar so that Penguin could have plenty of fresh air to breathe. "Tomorrow I will have the icebox service department send a man out to bore some holes indoors for air, he said. And then he could put a handle on the inside of the door so that Captain Cook can go in and out of his refrigerator as he pleases. Well, dear me, I never thought we could have a penguin for a pet, said Mrs. Popper. Still, he behaved pretty well. On the whole, he is so nice and clean that perhaps he will be a good example to you and the children. And now, I declare, we must get busy. We haven't done anything but watch that bird. Papa, will you just help me to set beans on the table, please? Just a minute, answered Mr. Popper. I just happen to think that Captain Cook will not feel right on the floor of icebox. Penguins make their nests of pebbles and stone, so I will just take some ice cubes out of the tray and put them under him. That way, he will be more comfortable.